Welcome to the latest edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime with me, Marsh and Kenny. Well, Southern Miss fans, you are going to love today's show. The interview is going to be with Southern Miss all-time leading rusher, the one and only Damion Fletcher. Well, you know, fan comments and the fan interaction are a huge portion of this show, and I'm going to get to all those comments in this next segment that we call Four and Out. Well, this week on social media, I asked everyone, with all the conference realignment going on in college football, what impact do you think that'll have on the future of college football? Had a lot of good answers, but I can only get to four of them because that's the name of the segment, Four and Out. First up, Bryant Wallace said the Sun Belt with divisions and close rivalries represents what college football was before greedy suits messed up the game. Hope teams remain patient and the Sun Belt could become something special. Next up, Mike Sullivan said, I wish the power schools would all get together and leave the NCAA. I really do. Powerful words right there, Mike. Next up, John Wickman said, I have referred to it as the ESPNization of college football. That four-letter network has ruined the sanctity of this sport we all love. And finally, Roger Dickens came in and added, so glad we made the jump to the SBC where we don't have to worry about what our fate would be in C, no hyphen, USA. Yay, they got rid of the hyphen right there to make a better conference, obviously. Well, thanks for all the fan comments, and please keep them coming in. Well, this interview is going to be so awesome. It comes with arguably the greatest running back in the history of Southern Miss football, the elusive, the quick, the fast, the one and only Damion Fletcher. Well, today's interview comes with a guy many Southern Miss fans say you couldn't tackle in a phone booth. He's in the Southern Miss Hall of Fame. He's the school's all-time leading rusher. So with all that said, I'm bringing you the one, the only Damion Fletcher. And Fletch, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing awesome, brother. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Oh, heck yeah. You have no idea how many people said get Fletch on. So it's an honor of mine to get you on. So, man, looking up your stats, I'm going to do you justice. I'm going to read them so I don't mess them up because it's incredible. So first up, 5,302 rushing yards, school record. 6,177 all-purpose yards, school record. 8th all-time when you finished in rushing yards. You passed Herschel Walker and LaDainian Tomlinson on that list. And then finally, another big one of only 9 players in NCAA history. There are 4 years of rushing for 1,000 yards or more. I'm out of breath, Fletch. Talk about those stats and what do they mean to you?
Man, it sounds it's like mind-boggling. Like looking back and just hearing it, it just doesn't sound real, but seems like a lifetime ago. But man, let me tell you, I was a part of some great teams. Had some great coaches, you know, Jeff Bauer and Fedora, and you know, did a lot of different things. Like I said, great teammates, a lot of great players on my team. So I think that was a big help for me being able to reach some of those accolades, and you know, that anyone, anywhere, anytime attitude. We brought it to everybody, no matter who you were. So, oh man, this is wild. Thinking back on it, got a lot of memories coming back.
Oh, we're going to get in a lot of those memories, man. And Fletch, when I was looking at these stats, like I was telling my wife, I mean, look at these stats. Are you kidding me? So, but great work, man. But Fletch, it all had to start somewhere, and that's Biloxi, Mississippi, Biloxi High School, big time 2-sport star in football and track. And in track, you were the all-state guy in the triple jump. And in football,
sir,
you were all-state team captain, team MVP. Talk about the high school days from the Gulf Coast.
High school, man. High school was amazing. That's before everything got super complicated, you know. I was just out there having fun. You know, you don't really realize in that time how much fun it was back at that time in your life, you know. But high school was amazing. Like you said, I did, you know, football, basketball, track. I pretty much did it all, and it was an amazing journey that brought me to Southern Miss. You know, I remember being in high school, my senior year, Coach Bauer coming down and visiting me at school. So it was just, you know, that was my first, you know, taste of, you know, Southern Miss is when he came down and was actually, you know, meeting me in person.
You could have went to several places too, but you decided to go to Southern Miss. Lucky us. Why'd you choose Southern Miss?
I chose Southern Miss because a lot of the family around me and coaches and a lot of it was close to home. I knew that everybody could come see me play, and a lot of people that were important in my life, the Brills and Pattersons and Santamont, they all were Southern Miss alumni. Like they all went to Southern Miss at some point or graduated from Southern Miss. So it was important for me to get there and be a part of that tradition.
Again, what tradition you added to? We're going to get into a lot of that stuff. But when you got to Southern Miss, look, reading some stuff on, you weren't too sure how much you're going to play as a freshman. But then I
Right.
read something, Coach Derek Nix, legendary running back himself, saw you do a 43-inch vertical jump, and he said, "We got to get this guy on the field." Do you remember
That's
that
right.
moment?
I do remember that. I went up for camp. It was a summer camp, and of course, there got guys from all over the state, all different states, coming in that are trying to get scholarship offers for Southern Miss. And I remember doing the vertical jump, and that was Coach Nix's station. You had 40 vertical, shuttle, but he was stationed on the vert. And then I jumped, and he's like, "Hold on." He kind of looked down at it. At the time, it was the electronic, the mats. So they're like, "Man, I don't think this is right." So they went and got the other one, the stick one. There's a stand-up one where you jump up and you slap it. And then I did the same thing. I think it was like a 42 and then a 42 or something like that. And they're like, the explosiveness is crazy. So everything kind of, went from there.
Fletcher, 43-inch vertical. That's sick, man. I mean, I promise I never touched those heights, not even close. So that was incredible. But man, getting into practice, getting into college football from high school, what would you find was your biggest initiation into college football during training camp?
Oh man, I would have to say I was so in camp, I think I was third on the depth chart. So it would be threes against ones, so they had the older guys that we would be going against in scrimmages. So we were doing goal line, and it was like a toss sweep, I'm coming outside, headed for the goal line. I'm like, "Oh man, I got like 2 yards, I'm gonna punch it in." And then on the other side was the guy named Jerome Lyons. He wasn't like a huge, name guy at the school, but he was a tough player, and I really have a lot of respect for him. He's a great player. So I was like, "Man, I'm gonna punch through this guy and just stick it in for 2 yards." I'm talking about hit a brick wall and went back. I was like, "All right, can't do that anymore." Kind of learned my lesson. Like, I'm not going head up with these guys.
Oh yeah, that first initiation to college football, you never forget it. Then right
Yeah.
there. And
And
speaking of,
and
oh,
there
what's
was
that? Another
multiple.
one, Fletch, another
There,
one.
there were multiple. Let's just say that Brandon Summerall was another one. My roommate, I did Anthony Gray. One time I went up with him. That was it. Just one and done. I learned my lesson the first time. Let's just say that. I
We all
test them
had,
out once to see where they're at, and then we'll get it. Not gonna do that again.
that's awesome, man. And but by the time you were done, you were so elusive, it was about impossible to hit you. But initiation with practice right there, and your first game, big initiation to college football at top 10 Florida, who wound up being the national champs that year. How was
Yeah.
that your first game playing in the swamp?
Man, looking back on it, it was absolutely insane. Like I still remember that day. Think they had 100 and I don't know, I bet turned out to be like 110, something crazy. Their fans. Like I remember being on the field and third down, the stadium is going crazy. My helmet is literally shaking. Like you can. So when we called audibles and stuff like that, Jeremy Young at the time was a quarterback. He would have to walk all the way back, and I would have to meet him in the middle so we could like be face to face to hear the play calls. And he would go back to the huddle, and it would be on silent count every time because we couldn't hear anything in the stadium. That one was wild. That was probably one of my favorite experiences, was playing in the swamp for sure.
Ooh, what an initiation right there, man. And talk about you making an impact early. We're hosting North Carolina State your freshman year. We smashed them. You wound up getting 177 yards and 3 touchdowns. How was that early in your career in front of the home fans? You're like,
Man,
who's this Fletch guy? Who is this guy?
yeah, I remember that's another big game I remember. I remember Coach Nix coming up to me. He's like, "Man, that's the real deal right there, brother." And at the time, I'm young. I'm, 18 years old. I'm just like, I do this all the time in high school. I was scoring 3 touchdowns and running for 200 yards every game. So I was like, I didn't realize in the moment, how big some of those things that I was doing, really how big they were until afterwards, So looking back on them.
Yeah, you had so many games your freshman year, and then Marshall, you had 150 plus rushing. I mean, you're just tearing things up as a freshman. As the season's going along, you kind of like, I think I got this college football. I got it down a little bit.
It definitely was a mental thing. After playing at Florida and then playing NC State and some of these other teams, and I kind of caught momentum, and like mentally, I was like, I can do this. You can keep this up. You can do this. It's not as bad as you think it is. In camp, I was about this close to going home. At sometimes I was like, this is tough. Like, it's hard. Not everybody can do it. But yeah, just I built confidence, and my teammates around me and the coaches, just breathing life into me. It made a huge difference and allowed me to be successful.
Oh, that's awesome. Successful early on too, and success at Southern Miss always, man. Continue to win a tradition. You guys go to the Conference USA Championship, fall short, but it was a great game. And then go to the GMAC Bowl, and you talk about making another impact as a freshman. You wind up being bowl game MVP. Man, how was that being a bowl game MVP as a freshman?
Oh man, it's surreal, man. It was just everything just kind of turned out like perfect. Just I was able to stay healthy, and we got to that bowl game, and we were able to pull it off. And I remember Torrey having a big game that game as well. So I was like, well, he might get the MVP, but I ended up pulling it out.
Yeah, got the big bowl win, because that's what we did back then at Southern Miss, win big games.
That's it.
I'm going to read a stat right here too, because I don't want to mess your stats up. There's so many of them, Fletch. But you were freshman All-American. You had 1,388 yards, 5 yards a carry, 13th best in NCAA D1 history for a freshman. Southern Miss freshman record, second best total in Southern Miss history. I mean, looking back at that freshman campaign, I mean, you like, dang.
Yeah, it off season was rough. I knew I had to put in some work because I wasn't going to catch many people by surprise anymore. A lot of the teams, they would always say, yeah, we didn't know about this guy, because I was, starting off, I was third on the depth chart, like I said, and they threw me in that Florida game, and I was able to kind of shock people, and like surprise them. And I was like, all right, so this next season, they're going to kind of know who you are. So you need to make sure you're working hard and staying on top of your game. So that's that off season, Coach Nix and all them guys were staying on me to make sure I was in top shape.
Heck yeah, you had a great coaching staff right there. You wind up being a Connerly finalist as a freshman too, on top of everything. I'm trying to keep track of everything, man. So much, Flex. And but you were also a weapon receiving. I mean, everybody talks about the rushing, man. You were dangerous in open space. What do you think made you different from some of the other running backs when you got in that open space?
Man, it just like growing up, I've always been able, like a great pass catcher. And I would actually always work on it extra after practice, hit the jug machine, 100 balls. And I do one hand right hand, one hand left hand, and all that stuff. I could always catch the ball. That was never an issue for me. And I think I could do that so effortlessly, it kind of cleared up other things for me. I was able to focus on the next move, because I know I'm going to catch the ball. It's not the prop, so I can think ahead. It allows you to think a little bit further down the line when you're not worried about trying to catch the ball.
Yes, indeed. And going into your sophomore campaign, Lindy's Magazine, a well-respected publication, they listed you as the toughest running back to tackle in America. Do you remember that recognition?
Man,
I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember them coming to Southern Miss and doing the photo shoot, and I was like, what is going on? It was just insane, everything kind of just felt unreal. And yeah, it was just wild. It was an amazing ride. It was a fun time in life for sure.
Yeah, your sophomore year, you made a tremendous impact. And here's what I'm going to read again, because I don't want to mess up all these stats. There's so many. So you had 9 games over 100 yards rushing. You had 211 versus UTEP, 151 versus Marshall. I mean, you got better from your sophomore campaign versus your freshman campaign. What do you think the difference was elevating that fast?
I was more aware of how the game moved, how game flow, speed of the game. I kind of caught up to the speed of the game, understood the plays a lot better, understood, I could read defenses a lot better by this time. Freshman year, I was just out there running, just kind of learning on the fly. I had a lot of time in the off season, like start actually studying film and studying defenses and all the little things that make a huge difference that allow you to, elevate your game to the next level.
Oh, I love it right there. And Fletch, when I think of you, and a lot of Southern Miss fans think of you, they think of the flip in your sophomore year. It made every highlight in America. We're playing Central
Yeah.
Florida at the Rock. You get hit, you flip, land on your feet, keep going for extra yards. You remember the flip? Talk to us
I,
about the flip.
I remember the flip, and I remember very well. And people still ask me about it to this day, and it's why I'm like, y'all remember that still? Like that's a lifetime ago. And everybody they still they automatically think the flip. I remember just doing it and like flipping over. I'm like, whoa! I like pause for a second. Like I'm still up. Hold on, let me try to get a couple yards. And then, man, I just had the biggest smile on my face the whole time. I couldn't believe it had happened that way. It's just like
I
one of
mean,
those fluke things.
Fletch, it was on every highlight in America. I probably watched that flip about 500 times. I got to be honest, when I think of you, I think of you flipping, landing on your feet, and keep going, man.
That's it. That's it, man. That was cool.
So wind up having a winning season that year. Go to the papajohns.com bowl, and you have another great game right there. How was that, man? Back-to-back bowl games, continue the winning tradition for Southern Miss.
Yeah, I remember that bowl game well because Cincinnati was ranked top. Their rush defense was ranked in the top, I think 15 in the country, maybe 10. I'm not sure. They hadn't allowed a 100-yard rusher all season, and I was like, I made it a point to get that 100 yards on them, and we weren't able to pull off the win, but I was like, man, I'm gonna give it all I got, and that's what I did. I remember that game very well. It was a fun bowl game.
Oh, Fletch, here I get the more stats. I got to read. Everybody watching this hopefully understands there's a lot of stats. I won't mess Fletch up. So you finished your sophomore year with 1,586 yards, 5.4 yards a carry. Southern Miss single season record as a sophomore in yards. Your second team All-American. You win the Connolly Trophy. And then Conference USA Player of the Year. I mean, there's so much to keep up with, man. It's just, Fletch, what are you thinking at this point?
At this point, man, it's all like it's a dream, right? Like this can't be real. Pinch, wake me up, somebody wake me up. Man, I'm just going into it thinking the same thing as last year. I'm like, man, I'm really gonna have to work hard to keep this up. I can't fall off, So in my mind, I'm just working as hard as I can and just trying to be the best that I can and move forward and be great, So that's what I did in the off season.
Yeah, I mean, you became arguably the premier running back in America at that point. And one thing happened to you from your sophomore to your junior campaign. I mean, Coach Bauer, legendary coach.
Yeah, my God.
Transition from Coach Bauer to Coach Fedora.
Right.
How was that transition dealing with that as a player with, you came in with Coach Bauer, now a new coach, Coach Fedora.
Yep. And now at this point, I'm on my third running back coach as well. But Fedora and Bauer, two completely different coaches to me, just two different styles, both great coaches in their own right. One more defensive minded pro style offense, the other one more offensive minded spread offense, so it was a complete 180 from what I was used to running a pro style going into the spread. So it was a lot of work in the off season trying to learn a whole new system and learn new coaches. It was a lot. Let's say that.
Oh, I can imagine that Fedora system was unique in America in a lot of ways, and y'all put up a ton of yards that year. Hey, getting into a little bit off the field stuff too. But at this point in your career, you're the big guy on campus. What was student life like for you?
Oh man, of course you could always feel like everybody's watching you, kind of deal. It was an amazing time to be on campus. I don't know if you remember or not, but around that time frame, baseball was really good. And basketball was really good. And I think girls softball was really good. Girls basketball was really good. So just being an athlete in general on campus was like, it's like, people are really looking up to you in a nice way to say it. So it was a lot of attention, but it was amazing. It was an amazing time to be an athlete at Southern Miss at that time frame.
I couldn't imagine me and Damion Fletcher in Hattiesburg at that time. And man, I've read all these stats, and hopefully I'm doing you justice with everything. But what's that, Fletch? I'm sorry.
Hang out at mug shots,
Oh, I had some good times off the field too, so I feel you.
Grab burgers,
Heck yeah, man. Old mug shots still there too. But like I said, I've read a lot of your stats. Amazing what you did so far. But getting in your junior year, man, you won up that. You break the school's all-time rushing yards record mid-season. To be immortalized like that, how did that feel during your junior campaign with more to go?
Yeah, I didn't even realize it. Do you know what game that was? Did it say or no?
Mid-season. I wish I had the exact game. Man.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
not
did a lot
sure.
of homework, but I don't know the
I'm trying
exact
to
game.
think. Yeah, man, I didn't know it was that early on. But I'm trying to think of when that was. What game would that be? It must have been a small game that I did it in. Must have been a blow. It must have been a blowout or something.
But you did. There's so many stats piling up at this point, though. I mean, how you feeling about your junior campaign and where things are headed for Southern Miss under Coach Fedora at this point?
I feel like we were headed in the right direction. I remember that season very well. We had lost a few games in a row, and we're below 500, I think, at this point. And I remember having the team meeting with some of the guys I was the big vocal guy on the team. I was like, I was quiet, but I'm going to show up on the field. You don't have to worry about that. So we had some of the other guys come out there, the big speakers, Gerald, the guy Jerome I was talking about, and some of the other guys. And we ended up winning out. I think we won 3 or 4 in a row to win out to have, to be bowl eligible and to be above 500 for the season. So towards the end, we kind of caught on to what Fedora was trying to do. And then, we got better at, their processes and how they wanted us to do things. And it makes a big difference, and that allowed us to win some games towards the end.
Heck yeah. And you talk about the process, you could see things were flowing along pretty well offensively. There's a game, if you don't mind me asking, you guys beat UAB 70-14 at the Rock. What's it like beating somebody like that at the Rock?
Man, it feels good. I'm not gonna lie. No mercy rule. Especially against them guys. They're pretty close. They turned out to be like one of our rivals. We would go over there and it was always a bunch of this, a lot of that. So I think that's one of the reasons why we put up that many points and we weren't trying to slow down. I remember that game.
Oh, you were having some monster games. You had 260 plus against UTEP, 220 plus against the Raging Cajuns. I mean, you're doing your thing. You're literally one of the elite college running backs in America, which takes you guys to fighting for a winning season to get to 7-6 in the New Orleans Bowl. And I want to ask you something, man, because there was a little controversy, if you asked me before the game. Y'all were the away team. Didn't want to wear white. Came out in all gold. A rebel look, kind of rebellious. What was that vibe like coming out in that all gold?
That was insane, man. We're like, all right, we're gonna do all gold because we bring a couple options, right? And then the seniors get together and they choose. So I guess the seniors are like, all right, they're tripping about like who's home and away. We're just gonna go all gold on them. And I think we got in trouble for it, but we wore it anyway.
Yeah, I think a penalty early on or something.
Yeah, there was definitely some kind of penalty or fine or something involved with that.
But you talk about Southern Miss attitude, man. No, we're going to come out in our own colors. That's great.
That's it, man. That was a special game too.
Oh, I love it. There's a great picture of you kind of jumping in the air, making a touchdown. And what a great game right there. But the specifics of that game, we had an incredible wide receiver on that team, DeAndre Brown, one of the greatest athletes ever at Southern Miss.
Yes, sir.
Horrible injury during that game. How'd that affect the psyche of the team when you see one of your guys go down like that?
That was probably one of the worst injuries I've seen in person. And I've seen a few like broken legs and arms and stuff, but that was just next level, gruesome. Yeah, I remember it being very deflating for both teams. Like we're both just like, in shock and in awe. We've never seen anything like that before in the real life in person. I hadn't. And it was a little deflating, but we knew we had to pull it together. And, we had a job and we had a mission that we were trying to, we had a goal to win that bowl game. So we knew we had to pull it together, and win that thing for him and, all the seniors and stuff like that. So we were able to rally.
Yeah, the storylines of that game with the jerseys, DeAndre's injury, you guys continuing the winning streak, tradition at Southern Miss, winning the game. One of the most exciting games I've ever seen in overtime. That blocked extra point at the end. You remember that? Did you just kind of jump out your shoes?
Yeah, Mike McGee, that's my boy. Yep, blocked that kick right at the end. That was awesome, bro. It was like, was that an OT or was that
It was an overtime, man.
It was an OT. Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. That was an awesome experience.
Heck yeah,
it don't get no better than that.
No, it was cool. It was in New Orleans. There were a ton of Southern Miss fans. A lot of people talk about that game to this.
Oh, yeah. We were packed out.
Heck yeah. And let me get into some more of your stats, Fletch, about your junior campaign right here. You do it again over 1,000 yards. 1,313 yards, 6 yards a carry, obviously all conference USA, one of the best running backs in America. How do you feel at this point about your career, man?
I feel like it's just chugging right along, right? There's no more surprises. Everybody kind of knows who I am. They can game plan for me. They know my style at this point. But that just shows that, that offensive mind that Larry had, is very advanced, and it was able to scheme and still be able to give me an open space and do different things like that, even when teams were able to game plan for me, So hats off to him for that. For sure. It was amazing. And I was pretty much splitting carries 50-50 at this point with Torrey, the other guy that came in with me as a true freshman. So I think we both had amazing seasons that year. He had a lot of yards as well and a lot of touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had double digits.
Yeah, that offense was so potent at that point. Fedora's system kind of kicking in, man. But just going against you, like I've been joking with a lot of people. When I was interviewing Damion Fletcher, I was like, man, I couldn't sleep if I'd be in open space with Fletcher, man. I might tear an ACL trying to catch you for tackling.
Yeah, true story. So we would always do one-on-one drills with the linebackers. None of the linebackers ever took me down in one-on-one drills, ever.
I believe it.
One-on-one, never.
I believe it, man.
That's the phone booth.
I believe it. Could tackle him in a phone booth, like I said. And you're so good at this point, man. They got to get a slogan for you. Can't catch Fletch. Do you remember that slogan, man? The fans love that.
I do remember that, man. I used to have posters and signs and all the whole nine, man. That was awesome. Whoever came up with that.
Can't catch Fletch.
I hope y'all see this.
It was a great slogan, man. And I mean, you guys win the tradition, still carrying along, and you got a game that season early on against Virginia. Got one of the P5 opponents at the Rock. And I had Coach Fedora on the show not too long ago when he said, man, they melted in that Mississippi heat in the second half. Do you remember those guys in the second half when you guys pulled out the win?
They ran out of gas, and it started raining that game. So when it's very hot and it rains and then it stops raining, that humidity and just heat and mugginess, if you're not used to it, it's game over. And man, that's probably my second favorite game of college all time because of how much we were down and able to come back on those guys. That game was amazing. Just the atmosphere. I think we were down by double digits. A lot of fans actually started to leave that game. And I remember the fans that were left, when we started to make a little comeback, they all came down and like kind of surrounded down in the Rock, got close and got loud. It got louder than when the stadium was full. When we started to make that comeback, it was just absolutely insane.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's one thing great about the Rock. You talk about the noise of it. It doesn't always have to be a sellout. The way it's built, it's straight up. I mean,
that's right.
That noise comes down on you.
It's right on top of you.
Everybody.
That's it. Pack the Rock, baby.
Pack the Rock.
It's right on top of you.
You're a beloved figure at this point in Hattiesburg by your senior year. What did it mean to you to play at the Rock, and just what the Rock means to you in general?
Man, to me, it meant everything. Just the fan base and the support, the staff, the coaches, everybody, front office, back office, just amazing people. That's why, one of the reasons I play so hard is just so many people around you just doing great things. You want to lay down for them. You want to do your best for them. Because that's what they're doing for you. So I was just, in my mind, returning the favor, some amazing people there.
Heck yeah, they loved you. And what maybe some other moments from games, being with the players that you remember from your senior year?
Yeah, man, it's just, there's so many memories. I'm trying to think right now. My brain's just scrambled, just thinking of just like, this is like a flood of things going on that I didn't even think about.
Scrambled you with all these stats, Fletch. I mean, shoot.
You told me stuff I didn't.
Begin, man.
Told me stuff I didn't even know. But yeah, man, a lot of great teammates, lifelong friends, guys I still talk to all the time. I still catch up with. Just an amazing overall experience. I love USM to death. I'm gonna make a plan. I went to the golf tournament with Coach Will Hall had 2 weeks ago. And saw some of the old guys and got back, me and Sean Merrill. Sean Merrill was on my team, one of the old players from when I was there. And definitely plan on being around a lot more this year. So I'm looking forward to it. I think, they're headed in the right direction.
Real quick before we get back to all your on the field accolades, current state, you just kind of said dealing with the team now, interacting with them. we got a guy, Frank Gore Jr. right now is doing pretty well, man. Shades of Damion Fletcher in some ways. So what are your thoughts on what Frank Gore Jr. is doing?
Man, that dude's amazing. He's a pure athlete. I could never throw it like that. I don't know if you I did have one passing touchdown in college. It's a little pop pass. Okay. But there was a play either my freshman or sophomore year. It's a toss sweep pass, guy's wide open. I overthrow him by 20 yards. So
Come on,
for Frank to be doing what he's doing, being able to run that ball, throw that ball, and do it efficiently and effectively. I mean, hats off to him, man. He's a great player. Look forward to watching him run this last year.
Oh, that's awesome right there. And so Fletch, getting back on the field, your senior year, you guys get to another bowl game, New Orleans Bowl, but your career's kind of wrapping up at Southern Miss, and what a career it was. Second to none, literally. How does it kind of feel that last game, man? It's kind of wrapping up a little bit.
Just, a lot of emotions. You're like, what's next with life? And, when is the next time I'm going to see these guys? And you're so used to that routine. And then you're like, okay, what am I, what's going to happen after this? It's just a, unknown feeling. And, of course, there's a lot of emotions tied to that program and there, all the blood, sweat, and tears with those guys. And, that's going to be, one of the last times you get to do it with them.
Oh, and then by the time you're done as a senior, man, you guys have continue the winning tradition, finishing with the 16th straight winning season in Southern Miss history. So you guys can say, continue that winning tradition. And I'm going to read some more stats to you right now, Fletch, if you don't mind, we'll mess them up. You had another 1,000+ yard season your senior year. Yes, one of only 9 players in history to ever do that at D1 level. And I want to repeat it again. You passed Herschel Walker and LaDainian Tomlinson for the all-time rushing yard list to get higher than them on that list. So looking back at those kind of accolades with those kind of names, Herschel Walker, LT, what's that make you feel like, man?
Man, it's definitely a heartwarming feeling. Like, it feels good, to be up there with some of those guys that, are all-time greats, not only in college, but in NFL. These guys they're the real deal, So just to be mentioned among those guys is definitely an honor.
Yeah, again, you deserve every bit of it, man. So right after football, life right after college football, paint that picture for us, man. What were your thoughts? What was going on right there?
Yeah, so right after, headed to Atlanta, started training and all that up at a place out in Duluth, CES. So just kind of looking forward to trying to maybe, get on a team, things of that nature. So just worked out, and then, draft day comes and don't hear my name. Next day, don't hear my name. So of course I end up getting a couple calls from a couple teams. I like the Giants and Rams, and I think who else? Texans, a couple other teams, and I end up landing a little free agent spot over with the Rams, and pretty much made it through camp. My hamstrings are done at this point, so just lost that explosiveness, man. And I think that was that was the end of the road for me. I kind of bounced around and tried out for some arena teams and played, in a Canadian team and stuff like that. But yeah, at that point I was like, yeah, it's over with. God got me as far as he wanted me to. I did what I was supposed to do, and I kind of left it at that.
Oh, and Fletch, I mean, hopefully I did you justice with these stories, but looking back at your football career, talk about hang your hat and be happy with what you accomplished. I mean, you are immortalized at Southern Miss.
Thank you. Yes, sir. 100%, man. So I really appreciate it, every moment there, and all the fans, and like I said, pretty much family. So yeah, it was awesome. It was a great run.
Fletch, you're such a big deal. I found this out about you. In early 2010, the Biloxi mayor designates a day as Damion Fletcher Day in Biloxi. I've never had a day dedicated to me. How'd that make you feel, man?
You got your birthday, man. Come on.
What birthday? There we go. This is my thing. But come on, Damion Fletcher Day. How was that, man?
Man, that itself was amazing to be honored. Back in a city where I absolutely love as well. I love it just as much as Hattiesburg, if not more. Just amazing. And I'm just grateful. It's just some things that you never think of as a kid that would ever happen to you. They end up happening, and it's all a dream, right? So.
Yeah, what a dream became a reality for you. So Fletch, give the honor right now. Give us some current updates in your life, business, things going on, family. Well, give us some updates, Fletch.
Yeah, current update on life. Got 3 kids, 12, 7, and 1 years old. 2 girls and a boy. My son is up in Hattiesburg. I'm actually about to hop in the car and go right up to his practice. He's at Oak Grove Middle. So I mean that takes up most of my time right there, raising these babies and making sure you're doing all the right things to be there for them and help uplift them. So I make it a point to do that. Work wise, I'm working for a roofing company here. I'm in Louisiana. I'm calling in from New Orleans. So out here in Kenner. So doing roofing sales, residential, commercial. So anybody need a roof, holla at me. I'm licensed in Mississippi as well.
And I promise, knowing Fletch, you'll do it fast and quick. The service,
Hey,
right?
hey, I promise.
I just know that.
Yes, sir.
I just know that, Fletch. I mean, black and gold's in your blood. So I think it would be just fantastic right now for the great Damion Fletcher to give the Southern Miss fans a message for now and the future of where we're headed.
Man, I think we're headed to amazing places. We got the right people in place. We got good players. We're recruiting locally, getting a lot of good guys. Like I said, I'm gonna be around. I'm gonna start helping a lot more. I'm gonna start scouting some guys myself. I'm gonna look around this area because I got a lot of athletes here. You always hear about these great guys coming out of here. So, ma'am, appreciate you having me. It was an honor for my time at USM and even now, Southern Miss to the top, baby.
Heck yeah. Southern Miss to the top. And real quick, just to kind of close things out, to recap, man, this guy right here, Southern Miss fans of this day say you couldn't tackle him in a phone booth. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's the school's all-time leading rusher. Hopefully I did you justice, Fletch. And
yes, sir.
You gave us Southern Miss to the top right there, but kind of tradition of the show. Let's do it together if you don't mind. So
okay,
from me and Damion Fletcher together, let's give the fans a big Southern Miss
to the top.
To the top. There we go. Together's even better. So, Fletch, I can't thank you enough. What an honor, man.
Hey, man, it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for thinking of me. And I look forward to many more great Southern Miss memories.
Well, that was too much fun catching up with the one and only Damion Fletcher. Well, that's it for another edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime. And all I ask of you now is something absolutely free and quick to do, and that's to retweet this on Twitter if you like the show, or repost it somewhere in social media if you like the show. And shoot, just help spread the word to your family and friends out there if you like this show. Well, until next time, as always, it's Southern Miss to the top.